Hello, yes, as you can see, my name's Gary. I'm Director of Data Operations at Merlin, and the nice people here at Dremio have asked me to come and speak about how we use Dremio and how it allows us to manage huge data volumes with a very small team. So who are we? Well, we're not Merlin, the entertainment theme park and amusement park. Unfortunately, that would be nice for days out. What we are is music. And we represent over 600 independent record labels and music distributors across the globe. They are our members, and they effectively own Merlin. And with the aggregation of all their music, we have about 15% of the global music industry, sort of somewhere behind Universal, Sony, Warner, so definitely a big player. We have very small organization, about 50 staff, or under 50 staff, sorry, at the end of 2023. The gross revenue for that same year was 1.2 billion, and that's billion, 9 zeros, and that is GBP, not USD. And if you want to work it out, that's about £24 million pounds per person over the year. We do that largely because Dremio has helped us automate a lot of what we do. What we also do is take our members' music and we license it for them to a whole host of outlets and distributors. The streaming services, I've got a few out there: Spotify, Apple, Boomplay, NetEase, a lot of the socials, Meta, Snap, a number of radio stations that are on the internet, iHeart, Slacker. Plus some extra ones like exercise, Peloton, if you are into your exercise, or even Canva, which is a presentation slide deck, which is what I'm using here. And really, it's anywhere where music can be used, we can license the music. I think the only one we haven't got at the moment is a gaming platform. So the obligatory slide deck of how we work with Dremio and what our data looks like. Most DSPs, the digital service providers, so from Spotify, from Meta, deliver files to an FTP folder. That's processed via traditional ETL using Glue into Parquet. Some of the summarized information goes into MySQL that's used for our internal and external facing portals. And then we distribute the files to our individual members, again, through an FTP, mainly because that's the, so I suppose, least difficult, most easy to use interface. We do load some files directly into Arctic. That's the bottom section, where we use APIs to absorb the data generally. And they're processed and validated, and then do also eventually go out to our members. We receive data 24 hours a day, every day of the year. So there's always something being processed. There's never a quiet moment. What we do, or how we use Dremio, we've had Dremio just over 3 years now, 2nd of October 2022. I know because that's when I started at Merlin, and we actually went live with it 8 months later, I think July. I can't remember that in my head. We monitor and validate nearly all the incoming data, and so a lot of what Sender and Isha said in the previous presentations really is where we're starting on the journeys, and we definitely want to go a bit further. So I've got some interesting questions to have with them or with Ollie later on. We receive and distribute trends information to our members. It comes in from DSPs, the digital service providers. Every day, we process that and get it out to them the same day. We receive monthly data from all these DSPs that goes into royalties. Each day we have, I guess, 2 billion rows of data come in. So it's not a small amount of data. Plus each month there are, again, billions of rows of data come in that need to be processed and pushed through for paying our members the money. Probably no surprise that we've got well over 1 petabyte of data. That was an estimate I made back in February, so I'm sure it's getting on to 2 now. But we manage that with a very small team. data operations team, so that's me and one other, that's two people that manage the data lake directly. We've got a small team that do the analysis and reporting of 9, and a team of 3 data engineers. So that's the total of the people involved directly with the data lake that manage this volume of data. Click. There we go. We use, why do we choose Dremio? Why do we choose? It does say Dremio underneath the left-hand box. We chose Dremio for a number of reasons. Parquet we have anyway, so Dremio is obviously a natural fit for that. Iceberg on top of that is then another bonus on adding to the performance. We've chosen the cloud-based managed service solution. Again, we have a very small team, so we have no management overheads, no configuration checks, no software updates to worry about. That's all done for us. Self-service analytics, it's completely self-service. The data operations team, we get involved if somebody gets stuck with a query that runs too long, but everything else is run, it's self-service, because it's an easy-to-use interface. There's no bottlenecks then for the business on any other technical teams involved. And the flexibility over our data is complete. We have a lot of data in S3, we have other data in Iceberg, we have some data in MySQL. It's all available in Dremio for the analysts to query and analyze as they see fit. We then connect some of that to Tableau, although from what Sender was saying earlier on, maybe we won't be using Tableau for too much longer. We might be using the what seems to be the new built-in Dremio Analytics, which looks really nice. Yeah, that's what we're doing, why we chose Dremio. What we've learned along the way, performance. We had a lot of problems with performance early days. We had someone come in and look at it, and they said, yeah, your SQL is rubbish. We were using Union All and with as, if you're used to SQL, they're not the best of things when you're looking at hundreds of billions of rows. We also had problems with engine availability, particularly end of 2023, early 2024. Poor SQL also aggravated that problem where the analysts were finding they needed to use an extra large engine instead of a medium engine. So obviously that's using a lot more AWS resources that weren't necessarily there. Excuse me. That engine availability was fixed, I guess around April, March 2024. A simple switch, I guess it wasn't really as simple, it was explained as a simple switch, meant that the actual engine startup time dropped from 2.5 minutes to 35, 40 seconds, significant improvement. And I don't think we've had any problems since with engine starting up. Reflections. We heard a bit about reflections just before the break. We want to make more use of them, but we're finding because the data's arriving 24/7, we'd like a bit more granular control over when reflections are updated, what engine is used to update them, what conditions they're updated in, and that's something we've raised with Ollie and with Mike, who I know are both around somewhere. So we're working on how we can make best use of that. Autonomous reflections, again, nudging me from the presentations earlier, it's something we might want to look into a bit further as well. Security, we've also found in the cloud environment, maybe a little bit too coarse for what we want. It needs to be a little bit finer. There's a lot of things that data operations people need to do that requires admin access. But quite rightly, we shouldn't be trusted with everything that you get from admin access. You know, we don't want to break anything or drop tables, but we do need to maybe administer engines, or we do need to administer users. Use cases. How do we really use Dremio, and what difference has it made to Merlin? Well, as I mentioned previously, we get billions of rows. I do mean billions of rows every month that are royalty payments that should be going to our members and then to the artists. Pre-Dremio, we could check the big ones, maybe 2 or 3, 4 if we were lucky each month, just because of the very manual process that was involved in making those checks. The files were in an FTP location, they had to be downloaded over the internet to somebody's laptop, then loaded from their laptop up to our Google Drive, and then loaded into BigQuery, and then do the analysis. not a quick process, and some of you will already be thinking, well, if it's being done individually, there's no standard baked-in business logic, there's no standard working practices, there's no standard way of working, and everybody will be doing their own thing differently. And indeed, we had those problems. Now what happens, the business logic is baked in, it's in Dremio, in the analysis layer, and it's decided by the business, and now everybody gets the same view of the data. I'm going to put on how much time we saved? No, that's further on. We also get the payments out faster. They can compare the data against historical trends just to see if there's anything anomalous coming up. And we can start that whole member process, the payment process, a lot quicker. And the payment process is now more transparent to our members. If there's any questions, we've got the answers. We're not guessing or making things up. We know what the numbers were, we know what the numbers are, and we can report those back directly to the members. More importantly, you would not believe the amount of suspicious, shall we say suspicious, fraudulent activity that goes on in the music industry from the bad actors, as we call them internally. We now have access to all our data in Dremio, all the daily trends information that comes in, whether it be from Spotify, from Facebook, from YouTube, and we can analyze that data and try and identify unusual activity, spikes, tracks that have been renamed, and we have a whole team now internally that's dedicated to tracking down fraud and then working with the providers or the members or the artists to knock that on the head. Use case 2, we knew we had a lot of data and we knew that data would grow. Streaming and insights, it should be, streaming and insights. We knew it would grow, so when we put the Lakehouse in, the main goals for that were to identify business opportunities, either internally or externally, and for the external ones, pass that information on to our members in a clear and concise way that they can understand. Now, the insights team can now, they just couldn't before, they can now investigate business opportunities, see a business opportunity, and identify and analyze, is it worthwhile? Not then going and making a guess. We can support that information with facts, with numbers, and pass that on to our members. For example, one of the main streaming services offer a type of advertising opportunity, which you think, great, I'll use that. Our insights team did some investigation and found that yes, by and large, you will benefit from using that advertising opportunity. But there are quite specific instances where it really works very well, and some options when it does not work at all. We can now, or we have on 2 occasions now, passed that information on to our members. They now are equipped to make a decision as to whether they use that advertising options or not. Internally, we use we use Tableau for our BI tooling. Dremio has allowed our insights team to update these dashboards a lot quicker. We can get them updated more frequently and with better certainty that the data in there is accurate and what we want to see. We've also increased the number of dashboards from 3 or 4, which were fairly high level. They were useful, but they weren't in detail. And we've now got 20 or 30 or so that are in different levels of detail and really give the business everywhere from the people dealing day to day with the detail of the members through to the CEO. ROI and business impact. So the speed of time from the data arriving at Merlin to being analysed and being available, it was 2 to 3 days, and we can now get that information to our analysts in 1 to 2 hours, a significant reduction in the time. And the queries run in seconds, maybe a small number of minutes, or rather than the minutes or hours that it took previously. I have found one occasion where a query I wrote was doing some data quality checks, and it was going over 24 billion rows. It was combining MySQL, it was combining Parquet, and it was combining Iceberg, and it took 14 minutes to run. I can live with that under those situations. The reporting and insights team can now self-service. They can run their own queries through the Dremio UI or Python. As I mentioned previously, we did have some issues with that, and I've got the learnings that we had from the process in a couple of slides. If our insights team do need to look at the data in a different way, a different cut, creating a view in Dremio is the easiest thing in the world, and they do that quite frequently. They're equipped and trained and understand how to make best use of a view. There's no data warehouse refactoring or rebuilding involved. The very real bonus, though, we found is the improvement in data accuracy, mainly because we can monitor it. In recent months, we found several occasions where data provided from big DSPs had problems in the data, and this was caused by problems in the processes that the providers had in their own systems, nothing to do with us, and they didn't know about it. Pre-Dremio, we would have had no idea that this existed. Now we know pretty much exactly where, that's a terrible metaphor, 100% of, or where our data is less than 100%. We know where the problems are, we know where the gaps are, but now we know. We didn't know before, and we can now prioritize how that's all fixed. As a final thought on the insights and business impact, we have these deals with DSPs. Earlier this year, we had a big renegotiation for a renewal, and I was told by my COO that Dremio was directly responsible for adding 0.2% to the revenue income. 0.2%, you think, yeah, not great shakes. That actually covers all the direct costs for the data lake, for the staff, me, for everybody else that's using the data lake, and still has an increase in the revenue that goes to our members. So 0.2%, yeah, not big. In terms of monetary values, it was quite huge. Key learnings, self-service. It all sounds good until you actually get through to using it. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our business analysts were not so hot with the SQL. They copied an idea, reused it to somewhere that wasn't quite so appropriate. Get their SQL optimized. Give them instructions, give them how-tos, give them best practices on how to write SQL that matches what they want to do with it. How not to use Dremio, how to use Dremio. Use scratch tables, not union alls. Use insert intos. Don't start creating the union alls and the with as. Iceberg is definitely the way to go. We need to make better use of Iceberg. We need to make more use of it. We can see real improvements in performance when we do use Iceberg, particularly if they're via reflections, which is something else I'm coming on to in a bit. Data skew. Data skew is a huge problem for us at Merlin. We have about 5% of our members are really big, so they account for about 80% of our data. Processing that through Dremio, using Dremio as an ETL tool, just doesn't work. The partitioning on that, it runs out of memory. We've tried all sorts of different ways. We know clustering can help, probably as this table that I'm talking about. It's too big to refactor into clustering. So we're switching to AWS Glue. It's in our tech stack, so it's not a big problem. And we'll be using Dremio for its key strengths. So that is the ease and flexibility in the UI. The Iceberg component of tables. We'll be looking more at reflections and more at the AI agents that we heard about earlier on. That's really getting me excited. Sorry, going off script. Finally, get a health check. Ooh, that's gone a bit loud. Get a health check. Even if you're on cloud, we got a huge amount of data from our health check. A lot of it told us we were in a good place. A lot of it told us that the ideas we were looking to do were the right ideas. And some of them confirmed decisions that, oh yeah, we want to do that. Now we know it is the right way to go. Will it make a huge difference in the performance of Dremio? Probably not, but now we know that we're on the right track. We aren't guessing, we aren't surmising. We've got the information to support it, and we will go back and use that again in maybe a couple of years once we've grown to the next level, just to make sure we're still on the right track. Looking ahead, what do we want to do with Merlin and Dremio? We want the data more available across all of Dremio, not just the 11 people that use it now. But the data's got to be safe, it's got to be secure, it's got to be sanitized. And again, there's a lot of information we got this morning that will help with that. We want to bring in more external sources of information. We want to help fight against fraud in music. We want to help augment the data that we've got in Dremio that's on tracks just for genre. Is anybody can come up with genre, and we get different genre names for each different track. We're looking to provide our members with a chatbot AI interface directly into their data at Merlin and how it matches the benchmark of data at Merlin. And we're also moving to Glue for our heavy processing, and in that we're exploring the Arctic and Polaris ways of having a unified catalog. That's it. Quick run through, sorry.
Any questions?
Stunned into silence.
We have time. Oh, okay, come on. Nope, we gotta get it recorded.
Hello, thank you. That's a really good presentation.
Thank you.
I saw you said the engine startup times moved from 2 minutes 30 to 40 seconds. How did you do that?
It was actually Dremio that did that. As I understand it, and Mike or Ollie, please correct me if I'm wrong, it was, I think, we were told it was a switch that was in the AWS side that insisted that the instances be all in the same rack. And I think it was a miscommunication from AWS. Changing that switch meant that the instances then just had to be in the same data center. So it was much easier to find those instances in the same data center rather than in the same rack. I might be completely off track with that one, but that's the story that was related back to us as part of the support ticket.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I saw another hand up early. Okay. Oh, fine, I got it.
Hey, great talk, thanks. I just wondering a couple of things that you might be able to expand on. You mentioned you've got lots of data coming in constantly. How do you deal with small files and Iceberg, and when to run sort of optimize and things like that? And second question.
We don't have small files.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay. So you never need to optimize then. You already deal with files that are too big.
We do regularly
almost.
run compress on some of the files that we know will be regularly updated. Usually that is the big files that come in daily. We have from Spotify we get about 1.2 billion rows every day, and that's just increasing. So once the data's all been ingested and processed, then that new set of partitions will all be vacuumed just to make sure it's as small as possible.
Right. Okay. And do you use direct query in your Tableau dashboards, or you mentioned sort of refreshing, so I wasn't sure.
No, we don't. That's a legacy situation where the insights team are comfortable exporting the data to Tableau. I think they will be more interested in perhaps doing direct queries from Tableau into Dremio, but at the moment data is exported into Tableau, or it's extracted from Dremio by Tableau.
Okay, thanks.
So how does the streaming pipeline looks like to bring data into your Iceberg table? Do you get data in batches, or you get streaming workload?
If it's going into Iceberg, we usually have API inputs. Again, Spotify is where we use that. Particularly, it's a lot of data, so the endpoints are rotated through. So we have one endpoint that we filter on the licenser, so our member, whoever is licensing the track, the country, and the other one always escapes me. I think it's the subscription service of the actual listener. So we rotate all through those, and the output then goes into JSON and then loaded directly from there into Iceberg.
Good. And you said like you don't have the small file problem where ingesting the optimal size of parquets. So how do you like batch? Like, do you like push into system like Kafka and batch it like?
Again, it's because the files are large. We just don't have a small file to worry about Parquet files being too small, unfortunately, or fortunately.
Fortunately, for sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.